Harrison Barnes, you're listening to 3-Point Conversion.
Good. All right, guys, we'll get started here. Let's start with Rick.
KB, after the last season was declared over, you were detailed in describing what you thought the roster needed to be dealt with in that off season. What are your thoughts on that now?
I think, for me right now, Rick, it's, out of respect to my guys in the season that we just went through, I'm just proud of them right now. I'm proud, I'm thankful, the effort they gave us this year. The evaluation of the roster and the team will come over the next couple of weeks. This is so fresh. Obviously, we're trying to win a game last night. Now, over the next couple of weeks, Rick, I'll take a step back with Mitch and myself and really evaluate where we're at, what we need moving forward. And it always starts with me, Rick. I always evaluate myself first. That's where I'm going to start first. What I could do, our staff can do better to push us forward. That's where it's going to start again this off season. Secondly, looking at the roster, looking at our players, how can we improve the roster? But also internally, what do our guys need to improve on? And I think last night was a great example, a great lesson for our young group is how do we respond from last night? How do we respond from these last couple of losses and become better and use it as fuel to get better? So that's really what I can control, Rick, right now is really evaluating that. Beyond that, obviously we have to get better. We know that. We have to take another step. I thought we clearly took a step from last year to this year. I'm very clear about that. There's no doubt in my mind we took a major step from last year to this year. Now it's like it's really about how do we take that next step, and that'll come over the next couple of weeks, Rick. I got to digest the season. It's so raw and fresh coming off last night's game. For me right now, it's just about evaluating the season in total. I don't want to just go based off of last night.
How would you evaluate LaMelo, both on offense and defense, as far as where he's at right now?
Well, I think Melo went through different stretches throughout the year. Obviously where he came in, this is all new and fresh for him. I thought he was making some significant steps, before the injury. I thought he had shown tremendous growth during that stretch. Obviously that was disrupted with the injury, the goal now is to really, it's one of my top priorities this summer is to really work with this kid, to develop him, work on, offense and defense. And I think he's taken steps in both those areas, but we got to take some major steps. And I think it starts with, his body and then working through the offense and defense. But we got a ways to go. But the kid is hungry. He's receptive. He's coachable. He's got a knack for the game. He's got the intangibles that you can't teach. The pieces that we need to work with are very coachable. And throughout our program, we have a history of guys getting better, in the offseason, taking a step forward. And I expect Melo to do the same thing. This is a kid that wants to work. He loves the game. And I think that alone is going to give us a chance with Melo, that he loves the game. He loves being in the gym. He understands he needs to get better, and he wants to get better. When our guys have that approach and that mentality, they're going to get better in this program. So
is it fair to say that defense is more the area where he'll need to have growth?
It's absolutely an area of growth for him. But I think that's with everybody. He does have to grow in the defensive area. And I've seen growth throughout this season with him. But, he's a young 19-year-old that, has not, had this type of experience before and been held accountable defensively. That's an area of importance for us, Rick. For us to be a high-level defense, we're going to need everybody to be their best, including Melo.
Jason?
Thanks, Maggie. Hey, Coach. Earlier this year, you spoke at length about, how difficult it is to defend the paint as well as the perimeter, and that only a few elite teams are able to do it. Obviously, you've been a part of those with in your previous coaching stints. So can you dive into a little bit as far as the skill level and what it takes to be able to defend both at an elite level, or at least at a fairly high level?
Sure. I mean, look, part of it is personnel based, part of it is scheme based. And, it takes both. It takes both. And we got to get better. I think we took a step in the right direction defensively this year. We struggled obviously in that area last year. We've had our moments of struggle here this year, but for us to be a top 15 defense this season, I'm really proud of our group. We've really put major effort there into defending at a higher level. But you got to find guys, and you got to get guys to buy into that end of the floor. I think we took a step in that area. To defend at this level, they got to have the will, the pride to defend, number one. Secondly, you got to put a good scheme in place that protects the paint, protects the rim. I think we took strides in that area. We were probably as creative as anybody in the NBA this year as far as our defenses and protecting the paint and, switching things up. And it helped us. I don't think we would have been in this position defensively had we not mixed it up throughout the year. Thirdly, the high level teams, defensive teams I've been a part of, they have length and size, at multiple positions. And this isn't something that, it's not a secret. I mean, the more length, the more size you have, probably the better defense you're going to be. So, but what I do control is, our scheme and our effort. And I think in general this year we had both. We were creative with the scheme and we gave great effort defensively. Obviously, we weren't there every single night. There's things that I'll look at, in my own coaching and my own schemes that can get better, and we did that last year. I looked right at myself last year, and I think we took a step, forward defensively this year. I'll do the same thing this offseason. We have to get better in that area.
And then secondly, and I understand if you need a little more time before you try and address this, but to accomplish what you guys did in a pandemic, I mean, because there are teams who didn't get to the spot where you were in, and I know the season didn't end the way you wanted it, but can you reflect upon, I guess, how this whole experience and the bond that you all have formed, even if there are guys who won't be on this team next year, but I would imagine there's a deep bond that you all formed having gone through a season with all the hurdles that you had to deal with.
Yeah, Jace, I'll never forget this team. I'll never forget this team. I'll never forget this season, this year. There's been so much that has gone into this season on a personal level, on a team level, in a pandemic. There's been a lot to this season. I just need a little bit of time to sit back and reflect. What I'll say is I'm thankful for this opportunity. I love these guys. I love competing with them. I love growing them. They make me better. They make me better. So it's been a tough year for many reasons, but we got through it together, and we did it with joy. We did it with passion, and we got better. This was a fun, exciting, youthful team that brought a lot of joy to our city, our fans, to our organization. We are headed in the right direction through the pandemic. We could spend the next hour talking about what we've been through this year, and I just don't think we have time or people want to hear it right now. But as I reflect, and I'll do that over the next week because it is fresh, I'm thankful for these guys. That they were a joy to coach, and we did it together. We got better, and it's a group that I'll never forget.
Rod?
Hey, JB, you mentioned you have to improve, I guess, yourself this year. Look at yourself and trying to get better for next season. What do you think you have to do, I guess, to get these guys to the next level of next season and beyond, do you think?
We got to work. That's the number one thing that I control and we control moving forward is internal development, and number one, our players have to take a step forward. That's my job to develop them and grow them and get them better from year one to year two to year three. I'll look at how to improve the identity of our offense, our defense, our X's and O's. That's my job. I thought we took a step in that area this year. If you guys follow our team, it's pretty clear on who we are now. I don't think it's a secret. When you look at the the NBA and you talk to personnel throughout the NBA, you talk to players, there's clarity in who we are. And it's about now enhancing that identity, you know, and making sure that our guys are improving in those areas. And then we're adding people to our program that fit those as well. Obviously, that's not my job. I'm not working in that area. Obviously, Mitch and I will talk and figure that out as we go. But what do I control is getting our players individually better and then looking at how to improve this team schematically on both sides of the ball. And every year we've been here, we've taken a step forward in that area. And, you know, you look at Terry's development from last year to this year. You look at Miles, tremendous growth. Jalen, tremendous growth. You know, Melo's growth throughout the season. You know, we have a number of guys that have taken a step forward. And now the goal is to use last night and this last week as fuel to get better. And that's what the message to my guys is. We want to be back here in this position next year, but we want to win. And it's going to take some serious work to get there. The bottom line, that's all I can say right now, is we have to work to get better. And I believe we have a group that is willing to work. You know, this group has shown they're willing to work. We do come back better from year one to year two. So that's the goal right now.
And then how important is it for you as a franchise, you think, to keep moving this thing forward, as you said, to be able to not only give back the next year, but to win, and then have this to be a place that you want to have players, free agents, and other players actually want to come play now, like Gordon Hayward did this past offseason?
Well, I clearly think when players watch us and coaches watch us, and, you know, when you look at our system, our style, and our roster, this is an attractive organization. And you look back to last year with Gordon, there's no doubt in my mind we'll be attractive this summer moving forward. But, you know, that's for another day. We'll deal with that at another time. And I forgot, what was your other question, Rod, the first part of that?
It was just more about just how important is it for you guys to take a step, that big step next year, not just get back here and say, okay, because this is 2 times in 3 years, you guys have been right there, but you haven't taken that next leap. What about taking that next leap next year to kind of keep it moving forward to where you guys want to as a franchise?
Sure. I think we clearly took a step forward this year. Now the goal is to go win in the postseason, you know, and that's a major jump. You know, that is a major jump. And our guys got a taste of that last night. They got a taste of that last night. And now we just got to use it as fuel to get better. And that's the bottom line. We got to use that as fuel to work this summer. When we feel like we've done enough, we got to do more. And that's the challenge now moving forward.
Sam?
Hey, JB, I know you talked next couple of weeks is going to be a lot of evaluation and thinking about where you guys can get better, but how important is it to, I guess, for you personally, for the guys to mentally recharge these next couple of weeks after this grueling season, kind of reconnecting with family and just taking a deep breath before moving forward? I mean, there's an element of how much you're looking forward to this, at least kind of, I don't know, unwinding just a little bit before you get back to work.
I think it's important for everybody. It's been a grueling year, more mentally than physically. You know, I think we've had a lot of physical challenges along the way with injuries, with virus issues, and but this has been a mentally grueling season. And I think we all just need to step back, you know, breathe for a little bit, decompress for a couple of weeks, and then get back at it. You know, we're not going to take a whole lot of time off, but, you know, for me, I hopefully can get away and enjoy my family a little bit. That'll help me reset and recharge. You know, I've been away from my family for a while now, and I need to be around. I'll just leave it at that. So it'll be good for all of us.
Will?
JB, I know that a game like that, like last night, if it happens in the regular season, a lot of times, you know, you hear the phrase burn the film. How much more closely do you look at that, not just the preparation, but the execution aspect of it, just from the standpoint of how much the gravity of that game was last night, in terms of how you analyze what can get better from that?
Sure. I think the preparation I'll do now, you know, I'll look back at our preparation, and I'm not sure there's anything I do differently, but I'll ask that question to myself for the next couple of days. I've already, you know, asked that of myself the last, you know, 12 hours or so. What could we have done better? And I'll do that again moving forward. At some point, I'll watch the film. I'm not there right now. You know, I'm not going to spend today watching the film of what happened last night, but over the next couple of weeks, I got to sit down and own it and watch it and evaluate it. And that's part of growth and development for all of us. So I'll do that over the next few weeks.
And just also from just the way that your team finished the season, I know injuries were a big part of it, but among the things you could control, where do you think things kind of went either sideways or spiraled out of control in a way that you did not look like the team you were through the first 2/3 of the season?
That'll be the evaluation, Will. I don't have an answer for you right now. I wish I did, and that's what an off season's for. I'll look at that, and we've had a grueling schedule here recently. I'll take a look back at the last couple of weeks, last month, and see what we could have done differently. Obviously, there's things I could have done differently in this stretch, and I'll look at that number one. But I think your point is fair. We were very disrupted. It started with the Gordon injury. Months ago. I mean, Gordon's missed 40% of these games. And it put a lot of pressure on a number of players just to stay in the mix. And I give our group a ton of credit. Once Gordon went out, Melo went out, Malik went out, Devontae's in and out. It put a lot of stress on this roster. And I think, here down the stretch, it just caught up to us. There's no excuses here, but, I'll look at the last couple of weeks on what we could have done better. Based on what we had. The disruption of Miles missing 6 games was significant for us. We had some rhythm going with Miles and how he was playing. He was one of our better players in that stretch. He was one of our better players all season. But in that stretch that he missed, it was significant for us, more than any of us could have imagined. I mean, those 6 games, we really felt his absence. But we move forward, and we'll all evaluate that period and see what we could do better.
Thank you very much.
Zach?
Hey, JB, you talked a lot this season about the resiliency of the team, and granted that you said in a little bit of time you'll be able to kind of reflect more on this season. How do you feel the resiliency showed down this stretch, and how might that help you guys grow even more with everything you had to deal with this year?
Yeah, I think that's one of the areas I'm most proud of this group is the resiliency throughout the year. No question. It was not reflected last night, but I don't want to lose sight of the big picture. When you look at this group overall from day one to last night, I can say one of our traits was resiliency, that we never gave in. We could have given in months ago, weeks ago, and we just didn't. Obviously, it didn't go our direction the last couple of weeks and last couple of games, but these are teachable moments that you just got to stay the course. You got to stay together. And I think our group overall, I believe, and I know our group overall reflected resiliency this year.
How difficult is that to not see that last night in the game with everything on the line?
Yeah, I mean, that was disappointing, but we move forward, and it's a teachable moment. I think we'll always have that game to point back to, but there's a number of games that I can point to right now that we did show it. And I don't want to let, one of 73 distort what I saw throughout the season. Throughout the season in general, we showed resiliency, competitive spirit, togetherness, unselfishness. And that's what I'll reflect on and remember. Obviously, last night was not a great example of that.
Mike?
Thanks, Maggie. Hey, Coach. You kind of touched on the loss of Gordon, how that impacted all the injuries, kind of tumbled down and everything. But are you kind of, and I know you're not evaluating the season just yet, you're going to take some time to do that, but at first blush, does this look like a missed opportunity for your team, or is this maybe a necessary pain in moving forward with this group and your staff?
Yeah, no, great question. It's a necessary step for us. Every good team, every great player you've ever covered or been around has been hit in the mouth to close the season. Every one of them. I've yet to see a player or organization from day one, they come out and they're just rolling. It just doesn't happen. You got to go through the process of this. This is the fire you have to go through. And we're in that fire right now. It's disappointing. It hurts. It's frustrating. But this is what gets you up in the summertime to get in the gym, get in the weight room, get better, find your resiliency, push your teammates to be better. You need these moments. These are defining moments for an organization and for players. And the players that get it, they're going to rise to the top. The players that don't, they ain't going to work here. It's just not. But I believe I have a group here that is going to rise, and they're going to raise their level, not only themselves individually, but they're going to raise the level around them as well. And I think that's why this is such an opportunity, Mike. I don't see it as a wasted opportunity. I see it as a necessary opportunity. And even though it's painful in this moment, it's disappointing, we got to use this as fuel to get better. And this is the only way it happens. You got to get hit sometimes in the mouth to take that next step forward. And that's where we're at today.
Jacob?
But let me say something else on that. You know, this is a very young team, right? They have to go through this. There's a number of other young teams that are not sitting here today with this experience. You know, even though I'm disappointed with last night, I'll take that experience any day of the week. I'd rather have that game 73 to point back to than not have it. And there was, you know, at least 10 other teams that didn't have that experience. We were one of those teams, as I said, playing the second most first, second, and third year players. You know, I relish that opportunity. Now it's about building off of this.
Hey, Coach. Circling back to LaMelo, I know you talked a lot about him, but considering basically he had 2 weeks between being drafted and coming in and playing right away, I mean, was this season about as much of a best case scenario as you could have hoped for with him?
For Melo?
Yeah.
Look, I didn't know what to expect when we drafted him. I couldn't be more thrilled to have the kid on this roster. He's ignited us. He's given us hope. He's given us tremendous excitement. And the season has had ebbs and flows. You know, there's been highs and lows throughout the season, but I'm very proud of Melo and how he's handled this year. It's not easy to come into a situation like this with no summer league, very limited practice times. To do what he did was extremely special. And we can't forget that. You know, we can't forget that this kid came into an NBA not having any foundation laid for him. He was just thrust into the fire, and he handled himself with maturity and honesty and courage. And I'm extremely proud of him for that.
James?
Hey, GB, at the end of last year, the team lost Marvin Williams, MKG, kind of big veteran leaders. And I know one thing you really wanted to see this year was who's going to step up to fill those roles. Kind of looking back on the year now, who's really stepped up into those leadership positions this year?
We've had a number of guys, and I'll point to Miles. Miles has been tremendous. His vocal leadership has really stood out to me this year. I think Terry's grown in his leadership. Obviously, adding Gordon to the mix, he's added to the leadership. You know, Biz has always stepped into that role. You know, Biz was tremendous for us. And then Cody Zeller's been a rock for us. You know, he's been a rock. I give him a ton of credit this year. Cody Zeller deserves a ton of credit for his approach, his leadership in his own way. All these men that I'm talking about lead in different ways. Some are more vocal than others, but that group has shown great leadership, you know, throughout the season. Devontae's had his moments of leadership. It's been a collective effort.
And just to follow up, I know we speak to you and the players regularly. Just thought I'd give you a moment to talk a little bit about your assistants, some of the coaches who you worked with this year, about the sacrifices they've put in, the amount of time that they've put in as well to this team. I just thought I'd give you the platform to kind of speak about them a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, James. I'm very blessed to have a wonderful staff, this group. They work their tail off. They make us much better than we could be or should be, and they work their tail off every single day. They make me look better, be better. They challenge me. They push me. They push our group, and it's their sacrifice. It's their commitment to this team, their hard work. They're consistently development driven. They bring great positivity to our group and to myself every day. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. So I give our staff a ton of credit. I'm very blessed to have those guys with me by my side, pushing me, holding me up, but more than anything, pushing our players forward. So I'm very thankful for that group.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Sorry, unfortunately, that's all the time we have with JB. JB, thank you so much for your
Thanks.
time today.
Have a good summer. Thank you.